This is total tyranny, total monetary and financial tyranny, ladies and gentlemen. Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. I know, ladies and gentlemen, my third video of the day, but I'm going to make this one really quick. I'm going to do my best to keep this one under 5-6 minutes because it's a short read, but we have to talk about this. It may seem like I've beat this horse to death, but the IMF finally came out and said what we've all been saying for a long time, that they will use a CBDC, a centrally banked digital currency, to control what you can and cannot buy. This is their goal, to have control over what you can and cannot buy, which means that they will have control over your labor. Because when you labor for money, you gave of your time, and you're going to use that money to buy what you want. If you can't buy what you want, it means that you are working for someone else and they have control 100% over your labor and how much it's worth. Let's read on. Central bank digital currencies would let governments control what people spend money on, IMF official admits. This is not me saying this. I'm just reading something that someone from the IMF said. The International Monetary Fund has said that central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, could potentially allow a government to control what people spend their hard-earned cash on. And this is not the quote. There is a quote from an IMF official who actually states this. Speaking at the IMF World Bank annual meeting on October 15th, Deputy Managing Director Bo Lee said that a CBDC could improve financial inclusion through programmability, programmable money. Have you heard that before? If you've been watching this channel here, you've heard it before come from my mouth, that they are trying to get a money that can be programmable so that they can control your behavior. Right now, they control our behavior via taxes and via laws. But man, imagine a system where they can actually control what you can do, when you can do it, how far you can travel. Ladies and gentlemen, this is very scary and everyone needs to know about this. I don't ask this very often, but share this video. At the very least, share the article that I'm reading to you right now. I will leave this article on a pinned comment so that you can share it and you can revisit it. And this is, quote, a CBDC can allow government agencies and private sector players to program, to create smart contracts, to allow targeted policy functions, Lee explained. For example, welfare payments, consumption coupons, for example, food stamps. By programming CBDC, that money can be precisely targeted for what kind of people can own CBDC and for what kind of use this money can be utilized, for example, for food. Lee, who stepped into the role of Deputy Managing Director at the IMF August 23, 2021, added that by allowing the government to precisely target what people need, this will enable said government to improve financial inclusion. This sounds to me, I don't know where this Lee gentleman is from, but it sounds to me like what's happening in China and has been happening in China for a while now with their CBDC and how they control what their people can and can't do through a phone app, ladies and gentlemen. Government will be able to control what you can and can't do through a phone app. Think about that. However, his comments were quick to garner reaction from experts, including Nick Anthony, a policy analyst at the Cato Institute's Center for Monetary and Financial Alternatives. Anthony wrote on Twitter that the IMF's executives' comments revealed how CBDCs would allow the government to precisely control what people can and cannot spend their money on. Prior to joining the IMF, Lee worked for many years at the... I haven't even read this yet. All right, I haven't even read this yet, ladies and gentlemen. I just read the title and said this is something we got to talk about. Let me go ahead and read this again. Prior to joining the IMF, Lee worked for many years at the People's Bank of China, according to IMF's official website. And this is what we want here in the United States. Trust me, ladies and gentlemen, I've told you in the past, and I know I'm probably going to make this more than 5 minutes, so I failed. I'll take the hit on that. I've told you in the past that the governments are doing all of these other things to keep us divided, to keep us fighting against one another so that we don't see what they're doing in the background. This is their goal. This financial system, the monetary system by which we are governed today, is on its last leg. And they have no other alternative to turn to other than a centrally banked digital currency, because that will give them total control over the monetary system. They will be able to handle inflation, make it whatever they want it to be. Just picture your worst case scenario as far as someone having control over your money, and this is what they'll be able to do with it. They'll be able to tell you where you can spend it, when you can spend it, how much of it you can keep after you earn it, how long you can keep it for. This is total tyranny, total monetary and financial tyranny, ladies and gentlemen. You want to go and buy a pack of cigarettes? I don't smoke cigarettes, but I support you being able to smoke cigarettes if you want to smoke them. Well, maybe they don't want you to smoke cigarettes. You want to come on YouTube and talk about the government and say how the government should be doing this and should be doing that, and they shouldn't be doing this, and they're criminals for doing this and that, and it's been proven that they did something wrong. Guess what? They will be able to demonetize your life. They will be able to have control over pushing one button that can pretty much erase you from society. That is what this is. That is why this is so important. Everyone needs to know about this. Everyone. Let me go ahead and finish it off because I got a little bit excited there, ladies and gentlemen. I love freedom. Freedom is everything. I don't see how Americans would want this. And I don't see how Americans would want this now. But wait until the next big major crisis comes up. And Americans, in most part, are destitute. That is why being prepared is so important. I know. With me, it's like a broken record. Get prepared. Get prepared. Maybe I ought to make a little song. Put some music to that. Get prepared. Get prepared now. Get prepared. Ladies and gentlemen, get prepared. That is why it's so important to be prepared, ladies and gentlemen, because when they come out with this, we can resist. We can resist with our preps in a non-violent way. We can resist, but only if you are prepared. Don't allow them the upper hand to have you or to put you in destitute and then you not be able to feed your families. Have that ability now and keep that ability going into any crisis. That way, when they extend their hand to you and say, I'll give you this loaf of bread, you can say, I don't need it. I got wheat berries and a hand grinder, and I can make my own because I put away a little bit of salt and sugar, a little bit of oil, and I have a way to bake that bread myself. So thank you, Mr. Government, but you can keep it for yourself. In a follow-up post on Twitter, Anthony quoted a comment made by Neel Kashkari, a president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis, or the president. And he says, quote, I can see how China is for this. I don't see how Americans would want this. Anthony also noted that the governments have a historical pattern of misusing these tools. Of course, that's what it's for. Once you give power to a government, they never give it back, ladies and gentlemen. And then he continues to say, citing Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's move to freeze the bank accounts of an anti-that word mandate protesters earlier this year. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you what, things are escalating, and look at who they have in charge of this CBDC over there at the IMF. Does it surprise you? It doesn't surprise me. Well, it kind of did a little bit. It surprised me that I kind of said it before I read it, that it sounded like China stuff. And here we go. Lee worked for many years at the People's Bank of China. All right, I'll leave it at that. I'll leave this linked on the pinned comment, so if you want to revisit it. Ladies and gentlemen, share this information. Explain to your friends what this means. If you're watching this, you already know what it means, because I believe that I said it in a way that you should be able to understand what it means. This means the end of freedom. This means total tyranny. That's what this is. Oh, you want to go to the hospital to get something worked on? Oh, you need money? Oh, your app doesn't work because you said something bad. Because something you said someone did not agree with. And they just had the power to push that button.